Hi, today's Tuesday. It's April 7th. My name's Adam Hebener. I'm the CEO of Modern Mortgage, and this is today's Modern Minute. And still, just every day, so much information to share with you and so much opportunity to help you interpret this information, and today is no different. So, guys, if you're watching in the real estate market, if you're a realtor or if you are a home buyer, a home seller, you probably saw Governor Polis's comments yesterday in his press conference extending the shelter in place to a definitive April 26th. And you may or may not be aware that afterwards, the Colorado Attorney General also commented specifically on real estate, indicating that those activities, which include things like open houses and showing homes, are actually not included in essential business now. And so what that means is that realtors who are marketing homes can't be marketing homes in that kind of personal way. You can't be showing buyers right now. You can't be conducting open houses. These are things that might be in violation to some degree of the shelter-in-place order. And so I just want to encourage you through this time, help you understand exactly what that means. It doesn't mean that you can't do real estate. It doesn't mean that your deals that are currently under contract can't move forward. And it certainly doesn't mean that you don't have options to become creative, to use technology, to help people really look at things from different perspectives. I've been getting just great suggestions from agents in terms of how they want to approach this process, things that they're going to be doing, virtual home tours. Matterport is a great time to be taking advantage of Matterport. And if you're looking at some of the very cool online virtual showings, these are awesome technologies that, frankly, are probably going to become part of the new normal anyway. So I think that's exciting. I would embrace that stuff. I would learn how to do it and get involved in it, because it's going to become part of the way we do business really from now and forever. So let's think through together kind of how long we think this process might be going on. I think there's a couple of things for you to consider. The first is the economic damage is starting to be what's bubbling up in the news. People are really taking the focus off of coronavirus and putting that focus entirely almost just on the economic damage itself. So I think what you're going to see is a sentiment that is going to require an opening, so to speak, of the markets, no matter how bad coronavirus gets. So coronavirus, we're already starting to see a pretty substantial flattening of the curve, which is awesome. The stay-in-place orders are working. Frustrating though they are, difficult though they are, you got to admit they are working. Forget what any political side says. If you're left, the left people are saying what they're saying. If you're right, the right people are saying what they're saying. Forget all that stuff. Be above it. Focus on the numbers. And what the numbers are telling you is stay at home is working. And so that's a good thing, so to speak, for all the avoidance of tragedy, which is something that a moral and good society should be concerned with. And so I'm frankly proud that the United States is doing that. I think it's cool to see. It does hurt. I hate it personally as well, as much as I think it's a good thing. And I think that's probably how a lot of you all feel. But keep in mind, once you get to the peak of something, you also have to start walking down the same size staircase down the back side. So the process that is bringing us up to this, and we can expect it to get worse all through the month of April, probably peaking in May, then you're going to start to see it go down, but that's not going to change sentiment that much. So even when the governor says, hey, you can go out and start showing homes again, how many people are going to want to see homes? How many people are going to want to interact right away? You're probably going to see people still wanting to take advantage of technology. You're still going to want to see them, use things like Matterport and virtual showings and other great photographs for homes, aerials, those kinds of things to give people a feel for what living in the neighborhood might be like. You might soon be able to go out and do the virtual tours yourself, where once the shelter-in-place order is lifted, you might walk through a house with a camera, as some have done, and talk about things that you think are cool about a house. Those kinds of things will help people connect more to what the house is like, and we'll start to see sales occur again. Because real estate is one of those things that comes back. It's a function of what humans need, not just what humans want. And so because of that, you're going to continue to see it be strong. So have hope in that. I think be excited about that. Don't be excited about some ethereal concept. Instead, just be excited about the fact that if you're looking to buy a home, getting to buy a home is actually getting, in many ways, less competitive. And so that gives you an opportunity to get a better deal, even though the process is more difficult. If you're an agent and you're selling homes and you're showing homes, then again, I think there's some real points of hope there for how you'll go about that. So be creative. Above all, here's what we're finding out. There is more opportunity than ever to stay in touch with people and to be communicating with people in a way that's useful to them. And if you're doing that, the marketplace is responding to that in a big way. The noise in many ways is being calmed. And so take advantage of that. Lead your people. Make sure, if that means people just in your home or people in your community, in your database, in your office, lead them in terms of the way you think, the way you approach things. Because one of the things we've been sharing with you over the last many weeks has been the power of narrative. Now, I just want you to zone in on how powerful a narrative is. Think about this, because narrative is what drives things as big as the economy. Just take your own interest rate, for an example. Where exactly do you keep your interest rate? Is it in the top drawer of one of your kitchen drawers? I mean, where is your interest rate? It's literally, obviously I'm being facetious, it's literally just, it's a concept that we have all agreed upon that refers to a couple of economic principles. Risk of default, you could describe it as. You could also describe it as future decay of labor, or the decay of even currency. There's lots of ways to think about an interest rate. But all they are is a concept for measuring the payback of money. And yet, the way interest rates move influence 7.5 billion people on planet Earth. Now think about this even more interestingly. Just a few people, maybe 3 or 4 at the Fed, make the final decision as to what will be happening in the cutting of an interest rate in terms of the overnight interest rate that the Fed controls. Now I know that there are lots of Fed chairmen, but inside that meeting, you got to imagine there's probably only 3 or 4 people making that decision. Of all of them, only one is really responsible for it. That's Jay Powell. Jay Powell has a counterpart in Europe. Her name's Christine Lagarde. And there are counterparts at the People's Bank of Japan the Bank of Japan and the People's Bank of China. It's pretty interesting to consider that very few people on planet Earth have a lot of influence over the narrative that the rest of the world sees when it comes to interest rates. And as soon as these folks say something about interest rates, then the whole rest of the world, 7.5 billion people, go, okay. And they begin to behave differently. The cost of money is different. Lending is influenced. Businesses are grown or shrunk, all because of what a few people said. That's the power of narrative. Now, guys, I'm going to take you into a very, very deep dive of this on Thursday when we're doing a special webinar. So make sure that you get involved in that webinar. You're going to need to see the content. You need to understand the kind of historical rhythms that govern or at least influence the kind of situations we're in now, because those are really powerful for helping you understand what's coming next and how to prepare and how to be ready for those things. So sign up for that while you still can. But even more important than that, make sure that if you're able to recognize the power of narrative on a national, international, and global scale, then ask yourself, what is the power of narrative in my own mind? I have been fascinated to watch the kind of banter back and forth on social media. My team and I have been talking about this really fascinating phenomenon of some people coming out and saying, hey, use this time that you're home for positive things. And then other folks saying, don't tell me to use this time for positive things. I want to mourn. It's fascinating to me to watch those two sides. And I just want to ask you yourself as you're watching this, which side of that are you on? How are you thinking that process through? Because the fact of the matter is, not my opinion, but the fact of the matter is, as a man thinks in his heart, or as a woman thinks in her heart, so is she. So is he. That's a pretty powerful concept to think about. So you're home for the next 20 days. There's not much you can do about that, not much influence you have unless you are essential and required to be showing up to work, which is a small minority based on the new guidelines. And so you're home. What are you going to do with that home? Are you going to live your life as though the only thing that matters in your life is money? Now listen. I don't say that flippantly. I understand we need money. It's important and money is good. But I think in better times, we all acknowledge pretty constantly that it's not the only thing. And so when that has been taken away, you need to take some steps for wisdom. You need to control what's in your own home. Make sure you're good on food. Make sure you're paying things in order of priority. Call your cell phone bill and negotiate it down. Call your cable provider and cancel it. You don't need all the CNBC, Fox News stuff coming into your house right now anyway. You got the internet for that. Take the measures to kind of shrink your life down as much as you can. But then once you've done that, you've done what you can do. And now it's probably time to start thinking about finding ways to build the other parts of your life that you've always wanted to work on. Learning some music. I've been getting back to guitar. I've been learning piano. I don't know anything about piano. I've been trying to improve my piano skills while I've been in this situation. So do all that you can to be all that you can, because that's going to make you stronger on the other side of this. But know that the only way for you to accomplish that is to take responsibility for the narratives that drive your life. Now, ironically, the more responsible you are for your own personal narrative, the less impacted you are by the narratives of others, even if they're global narratives. You can't be entirely impervious to that, but you can be less so. And I hope that encourages you. I hope you are able to take responsibility for that and to really be in control of what your narrative is. So sign up for the webinar. Make sure you're at that. We're going to continue to give you some good information. And thank you guys for all the good feedback we get. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to get out there with more folks. We want to be serving as many people as we can through this weird time, and eager to connect with you guys. So thanks a lot. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.